If you need to pull data together from different locations, Excel has a function called concatenate, also a capability referred to by the same name. But the new feature in Excel 2013, Flash Fill, may often negate the need for these functions. Let's talk about, first of all, this new capability. I'd like to pull together in column D the names that we're seeing in columns A, B, and C. In the style, for example, Baker, comma, space, Mark, space, S. And as I type this, and I'll simply type the last name, B-A-K-E-R, comma, space, Mark, space, S. Enter. I'm not going to type all these. Look what happens with the Flash Fill feature. I'll type H, the beginning letter for Hansen, the next name, and immediately Excel picks up on what I want to do, and I'll simply press Enter, and we're all done. And if that's all we want to do, we don't need to use any other kind of function or capability here. But let me undo this and say that maybe we want a period behind that, and recognize, of course, we don't have middle initials in all cases here. So if I type a period here behind the S, and then press Enter, and now type H for Hansen, Excel again picks up on what I want to do, but it's doing things that I don't want when there's no middle initial involved. You see what's happening there. So when I complete this, you can see we've got some unusual characters there that we really don't want. So a different way to do this is to pull together data from other cells by using the technique referred to as concatenation. And we'll simply start here by typing equal and then getting the data from the last name cell right there, using the ampersand symbol, which means and. So following Baker, what do we want to see here? A comma and a space. So we use double quote, comma, space, double quote. We'd like to see Baker, then comma, space. And then we want to get the first name. That's in cell A2. And after that, what do we want to see? We either want to see a middle initial or we want to see nothing. So let's introduce an if function here. And what we're about to say is if this cell here is empty, and one way to say this is equal, double quote, double quote. So if cell C2 is empty here, what do we really want to put in place here? We could say, well, the content of C2, which is blank, or we could put in a couple of double quotes. I think C2 reads a little more easily here, so we'll put that in place. Now, what if C2 is not blank? In other words, it has a middle initial. What we need to put in now is a space, double quote, space, double quote. And following that, we do want to gather the data from C2, the actual middle initial. And following that, we want to put in, within double quotes, a period, and then a double quote to complete that, right parenthesis, and we have our construction. Admittedly, and I don't want to insult anybody, a little geeky as we look at this, but it gets the job done. The feature is referred to as concatenation. Now, there's a function called concatenate. We could pretty much go the same way, but I'll just use the simpler version that we actually don't need anymore. I'll actually type it in, though, to show how it works. I won't use the if function in this example, but we could. Let's just pull together the three names. Concatenate. Let's go get Baker, comma. Then we want, after Baker, a comma and a space. So double quote, comma, space, double quote. We'll put that in there. In other words, we're not using the ampersand symbol. We're pulling together data by way of this concatenate function. So we want to get Baker, then a comma, space, comma. Next thing we want to get is that first name right there. That's what we want to get next. And then another space, double quote, space, double quote. And then that middle initial following the double quotes, comma. We get that from C2. There we are. Now, what we will have here, and it's not horrible, but we will have some trailing spaces here. We don't really see that until we turn these into values, but that's the concatenate function. Now, when you've got data in rows, and this is less likely than commas, if you try and pull together this way, Flash Fill just doesn't work. In other words, we might want to pull together the ID, for example. If I type 1608 hyphen and then put in Baker, maybe I'll just use the last name here. That's all well and good. But as I go to the right here and put in 1607, Excel's not picking up on that or sensing that I'm trying to establish a pattern here. So if I type 1607-Hansen, it's not sensing anything and is not helping me here. So in this case too, if we had this kind of a situation where we wanted to create names like this, we would certainly use either concatenate or the concatenation capability, either way. So another way to do this would be pick up the data from here, ampersand, and then we want a hyphen after that, double quote, hyphen, double quote, and getting the data from here, Maybe we'll use the whole name that way. So we see that. Make the column a bit wider to see it, and then drag this across that way. Admittedly, a little bit unusual in this kind of a layout and an unusual kind of combination. Also have to adjust our column widths too. That's easily done. But we've seen how we can pull together data. There's no question that this feature will not be needed as much because of flash fill and the way we use that in columns, but there certainly will be times when you're trying to pull data together from different sources where we use either the concatenate function or perhaps a little bit better concatenation capability as we see it here and in our previous example.